One thing I think is the absolute hardest of being with an avoidant and not realizing it until after the two of you break up is that you will have these moments where you'll look back on the relationship and feel like you were such a bad partner because you know things now that you didn't know at the time. This has come up for me a couple times today, so let me just explain. And it gives me this feeling of like guilt and shame, like I just wasn't a good partner, and I know it's not true. So the first thing is that I had to go to a new client's house today in this certain neighborhood that I used to drive around a lot with my ex in this neighborhood. A lot of times in our relationship, I would have car problems, and so my ex would let me borrow his car. And in order to borrow his car, I would have to drive him to work in the morning and then pick him up after work. And it just so happened to be in this neighborhood, which made me think about this period of time. One thing that he would ask me is to really be on time when I would pick him up from work because he was a carpenter and he couldn't really hang around at these clients' houses. But if you know me, my biggest Achilles heel in my life is that I really struggle to be on time because of my ADHD. It is a huge problem. It is my biggest shortcoming in life. I struggle a lot with it. And while I was mostly on time, and I really always tried to be on time, there were times where I was late and he would have to walk to the gas station to wait for me. And it's so hard because looking back on the relationship, he was always so nice and chill and calm about everything that he never said anything. He never said when something bothered him. He never was like, reprimanding me or anything. And so what I'm thinking in my head is like, oh, well, like if this is the worst thing I do in the relationship, like it's obviously not bothering him that much. Like obviously I'm going to try to be on time because it's important to him and I care about the things that are important to him. But, it's not that big of a deal, right? But now looking back and realizing like he's likely avoidant, and what was probably going on in his head is that he was really bothered by this, but just didn't feel comfortable talking about it, just really stresses me out. The second thing today was I just saw a video on my For You page of this girl who owns a dog called a Belgian Malinois, and my ex just so happened to really want this kind of dog. Now, one thing about him and I is that during this period of time, we were both so busy. We had full-time jobs, like service jobs. We're out. We can't bring pets with us to work necessarily. And he was like living in sober housing. It wasn't like super stable where you could like have a pet. And none of us just had a lot of free time. Like we had lots of hobbies, lots of things we did. So anyway, I was on Facebook one day and I saw a post of a puppy Belgian Malinois that needed to be adopted. And it instantly made me think of my ex, my partner. So I sent it to him and I was like, oh my God, look how cute. Like, oh my God. And he responded being like, I want it. Let's get it. I want to get that dog. And I was like, oh, are you serious? And he was like, yeah, I want it. And instantly, I just told him all the reasons why it wouldn't work because we're both so busy. And if you know anything about this breed of dog, they need extra care and attention. It's not just like a big dog that needs to be taken on walks and taken to the dog park. This dog is extremely energetic. It has a lot of extra needs, and you have to be so focused on this specific breed. And I just felt like, I don't want to have to take on the brunt of this work if he doesn't have the time or whatever. I already have a dog. And so I was trying to tell him like, look, these are all the things we have going on. Like, I don't think we could take care of it. And then he kind of just resigned to that. And he was like, okay. But looking back, like, it makes me feel bad because it makes me feel like I was just being a Debbie Downer, like not supportive of his dreams or whatever, which I know is not true, but it's so hard to not think about that and be like, God, I bet inside his head, he was just so frustrated with me, which is not my fault. Like, the problem with avoidant people is that they are so afraid of conflict that they will not tell you when you are doing something. And like a healthy partner would be like, look, I want this dog, okay? Whether you like it or not, I'm going to get this dog. Like, here are the ways I'm going to take care of it, blah, blah, blah. But what was extremely hard in our relationship is that I sometimes felt like I was in this maternal role, like, which I did not want to be in. Like, I don't want to be anyone's mommy. Like, I want to feel like this small princess. I don't want to feel like I have to mother you or do things like that. I don't want to have to tell you how to like groom yourself or do certain types of hygiene. Like, I don't want to have to tell you these things. Like, I really don't. Like, it makes me feel fucking disgusting. But I fell into that role because I wasn't getting communication from him. And there were certain things where I just felt like, that's interesting that like he's not really catching on to these certain things. And so maybe he just needs a little help or a little push. And because avoidants really struggle to make decisions because they don't want to cause conflict, you always end up being the decision maker. Like, the final word is always from you. Anyway, I don't know. I'm sure a lot of you can relate, but there are times where it just feels like heartbreaking to me because I just wish that there could have been more communication and I could have had the ability to work on things, because it's just unfair to the partner. Like, when we don't know, when you're not telling us what we can work on or what bothers you, then we don't know. We really don't know. We can't read your mind. We just assume everything is okay because that's what you're telling us. And it just sucks. It sucks so much because all I wanted was for him to be happy and be happy with me and feel good with me. And I don't know, it's just hard to think of these things sometimes.